Hi friends, welcome to Krako's video series. In this particular video, I'll be telling you everything about the IPMAT exam, how to prepare for it, what is the syllabus, what is the exam structure, how to prepare, what are the common mistakes that are made. Everything about the exam will be covered in this video. So save this video. This is your one-step guide to cracking IPMAT. This is the most important video you need to see for understanding the exam. So let's get started. Before we start with the exam itself, let's first try to understand why IPMAT. Why should you take the IPMAT exam? So what is exactly the IPMAT? So IPMAT is an exam which gives you admission into the IPM program, which is the integrated program in management, which is run by IIM Indore, IIM Rohtak and 5 other IIMs including Sirmaur, Amritsar, Ranchi. So all of these prestigious IIMs are running an integrated program in management. What is the integrated program in management? It is basically a 5-year program which has BBA plus MBA combined. So it's like from class 12th you will directly finish your undergrad in management as well as your postgrad in management as well. And the second first 3 years are like a BBA. And 4th and 5th year are actually like the MBA. You will be joining the MBA class of IIM Indore. You will be joining the MBA class of IIM Rohtak. So essentially, you are directly fast tracking your career to go through first undergraduation as well as post graduation immediately afterwards. A lot of people spend like 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get into IIM Indore, but the guys who go through IPM end up going and joining the same guys very fast in their career. So what a lot of students achieve at the age of 28 or 29, you will end up achieving at the age of 22, which is that you will graduate from a prestigious IIM like IIM Indore. So this is why a lot of students give IPMAT. It is a fast track way into getting into the IIM's top. It is like a fast track way of getting into the top IIMs. This year, even IIM Bangalore has indicated that it might start undergraduate courses. So that is also a very top premium school which has shown interest in offering these undergraduate plus postgraduate programs. So let's get started. So this is a direct path to an MBA. So at the end of 5 years, you will have an MBA directly. You won't have to wait for years or take CAT multiple number of times to get into an MBA. You will have the MBA at a very early age, and that also has distinct advantages because now you can pay off your loans, educational loans earlier. You have a good placement to start off your career with. It has distinct advantages to do that. These programs are offered by the top IIMs including IIM Indore, IIM Sirmaur, Ranchi, Shillong, Amritsar, IIM Rohtak. Many of these accept like Sirmaur, Ranchi and Amritsar, Shillong accept IIM Indore's IPMAT score. IIM Rohtak has its own exam which is IPMAT Rohtak. So, and many of them accept a combination of these scores or either or of these scores. So, a lot of schools accept the IPMAT which is conducted by Indore. Some of them also accept the IPMAT which is conducted by Rohtak. And both of these IPMAT exams will give you entrance into the top B schools of India. So, let us take a better look at these entrance exams. We'll begin with the IPMAT of Indore. This is the most accepted exam. Like most of the IIMs are accepting IPMATs conducted by Indore. That score a lot of people are accepting. So this is an exam which IIM Indore is a better school. It has a better placement statistics. It has better curriculum, teachers, alumni, everything. In addition to that, the score of IPMAT Indore is more widely accepted than the score of IPMAT Rohtak. But there is always a positive as well as a negative, right? IIM Indore's IPMAT is generally tougher, particularly in quant. Its quant is slightly on the harder side. So let's take a look at the exam. Let's identify what all things are there as part of the exam, how you should prepare for it. So first, let's take a look at the exam pattern. This is a 2-hour exam. In the 2-hour exam, you have to solve 90 questions. So the 90 questions are split into 2 parts. The 2 parts are quantitative. This together is 45 questions in quant. And verbal ability, this is also 45 questions. So you can say it's equal weightage in a way, equal quant weightage, equal verbal weightage. But the time for quant is double. The reason for that is that the short answers, one that you see, right, 15 questions which are short answers. They are tough questions. They require a lot of solving, they require a lot of calculation, and to solve and do well in them will require a lot of effort. These are not easy questions. even for somebody who has taught for CAT, I would say that these are at CAT level, or I would say even a slight level higher. So these are difficult questions. You will need like very disciplined planning and preparation for that. This quant section requires a lot of preparation. Okay, here you will say, okay, what is short answer time, what is MCQ? So MCQ stands for multiple choice questions. You will be given 4 options, A, B, C, D. You have to choose one of them. So you calculate, you find the answer, you say C is the right answer. This is a MCQ question. What is short answer? Short answer seems as if you have to do some solving and all. You have to do solving, but you don't have to show the solving. You just have to type in the answer. So this is a TITA question, which is type in the answer type question, where you have to just put in the value that you are getting at that. So you will be asked, okay, if this person can do this work in 5 days, that person can do the work in 10 days. Together, how many days will they require to finish the same work? So you will calculate and you will get some value, and that number of days will be the answer that you have to input. So this will be basically, it will not be choosing among 4 options, but rather data entry. And because data entry can be, you can have multiple possible answers, here the number of answers that you can have to choose from will also be very high, which means that your chance of getting the answer wrong is also very high. Which is why for these short answer types, even the paper setters know that we should not penalize you for getting the wrong answer, because here accuracy is difficult. So here for these 15 questions, there is no negative marking. They are also understanding that this is a difficult question. Getting a question right when no options are provided is difficult. So here they are giving you 15 questions. They are giving you a lot of time, 40 minutes, and there is no negative marking. These are tough questions. Getting them right is difficult. But I would say that since all of them, 15 questions are there, since there is no negative marking, you should attempt all of them. Whether you get the answer, don't get the answer, guess something and put it. Because what is the downside? There is no downside, there is no negative marking. So if there is no negative marking, you should definitely answer every question that is there in among these 15 questions. Over here, you have to be careful. For MCQ type questions, there is +4 for the correct answer and -1 for the incorrect answers. This is for MCQs. For short answer time, it is just +4 and 0 for negative. So you get no marks for negative, for incorrect answer, but for every correct answer, you get +4. So you should always attempt all of those 15 questions. But for these 30 plus 45, 75 questions, you should be a bit more selective. If you don't know the answer, don't attempt it unnecessarily. If you're able to narrow down the answer, also go ahead and attempt it. But if you have no idea, if you're like blindly trying to put it, don't put it for the MCQs. But even if you don't know the answer for like the short answer type, definitely put some answer, because there is no negative marking. You should definitely put some answer for all the short answer type questions. Okay, so you can see that these are 80 minutes, 15 plus 30, 45 questions in quant. These are difficult 15 questions. These are easier MCQ 30 questions. They will take you less time to solve. These 15 questions will actually take you 40 minutes to solve. It's not a easy question. Difficult questions 15, easy moderate questions 30. Now come to verbal ability. I'll discuss even like what questions are asked, what is the syllabus. But in general, I did not feel the verbal ability section of IPMAT was very difficult. With preparation, you should easily be able to do well in it. With preparation, 40 minutes is sufficient to answer all the questions. Here, 40 minutes might not be sufficient to answer 30 questions, or 40 minutes might not be even sufficient to answer the 15 questions as such, because the level of effort required to solve them or answer them is higher. Here, you should be able to answer these questions because they are not as challenging as a quantitative part. So you can see slightly there is one thing that you can see in this particular exam, that is it is slightly quant focused. There is a distinct advantage for those who are good at maths. For those guys who are weak at maths, this is slightly to your disadvantage, because these have individual cutoffs. So there will be an individual cutoff for the short answer type, there will be an individual cutoff for the MCQ type questions, there will be an individual cutoff for the verbal ability questions. So you have to be decent at quant. At least 2 of the sections will have decent cutoffs, and you have to clear those cutoffs also. So this is here, the distinct advantage is for the guys who are decent at quant. For the guys who struggle at quant, you really have to work hard to overcome that barrier. Now let's come to the marking scheme. As you know, it is +4 and -1 for MCQ kind of questions, plus 4 and 0 for theta questions, which is the short answer type. Okay, the sectional time limit is 40 minutes for each question. Remember, you cannot ignore any section, you cannot ignore any part of the paper, because for IPM Indore admission, all of these sections will have individual cutoffs. So it's not that, okay, I did well in verbal ability, so it's okay if I do poorly in the other two. See, they will have a combined score, but that combined score will only be taken when you have cleared the individual sectional cutoff. So each of these sections is of importance. Nothing can be overlooked, nothing can be ignored. Every section has a lot of importance. So this is all about IPMAT Indore. Before we move on to IPMAT Rohtak, I make a small request to you. If you feel that this has been helpful, that we are providing you helpful information, then please do subscribe to our channel, because we will be providing more such videos, more in-depth videos about how to prepare for IPMAT. So please hit the subscribe button. So with that, I'll go to the second exam that is often taken by people who are preparing for IPM, which is the IPM Rohtak exam. The IPM Rohtak exam is slightly easier. It is also a very competitive exam. I will not like to say that it's not a competitive exam. It's a competitive exam, but it is accepted by fewer colleges and it is a tad bit on the easier side. Again, IPM Rohtak has excellent placement statistics, so it is no way a bad exam to take. It is definitely a good exam, because both IIM Indore and IIM Rohtak have very good placement records, particularly for their IPM programs. So let's take a look at the exam. This again is also 120 minutes. So both exams are 2 hours exams, okay? So neither exam is long or anything. Both exams are 2 hours exam. But the difference that you see is that, so there are 3 sections. You can see there is quant, there is logical reasoning, and there is verbal. All of these are MCQ, so you don't have to worry about writing short answers or having very difficult questions. This is close to the format that is followed by CAT. So if you know the CAT exam, this is not very different in format as compared to the CAT exam. So over here you have 40 questions for each. There is equal weightage for quantitative ability, that is maths, logical reasoning, which is basically logical thinking ability, and third is verbal ability, which is like reading comprehensions and like vocabulary, all verbal ability as such. So over here you see that the structure is much more balanced. It is not tilted towards one subject over the other. 3 different equally important areas of thinking are tested. So I would say that for somebody who is having a balanced profile, for whom quant or maths is not the most important skill that they have, this is a better exam, because you have a very good chance in this exam. Having said that, prepare for both exams, prepare well for any exam. You will, even if you are not somebody who is naturally very good at maths, can do well in both exams with preparation. So over here you can see there's quant aptitude, logical reasoning, verbal ability. I'll tell you about each of these sections in detail, what exactly is asked, how to solve those questions. I'll see that in the next slide. But over here you have 120 questions, 120 minutes. So the questions are like literally 1 question per minute. The questions are not super difficult. You have to solve them very fast. Speed is of like very high importance over here. There is +4 for correct answer, -1 for incorrect answer. So you can see there is 120 questions, 4 marks per correct answer. So the max marks that you can score in this particular exam is 400 marks. Generally 300 plus score is considered like a good score. You will get a general category student can get into IIM Rohtak with a 300 plus score. So it's not that you have to solve all like 120 questions, you have to solve enough questions to clear the cutoff. That is the idea. Again over here it is +4 for correct answer, -1 for incorrect answer. So you should not mark randomly, you should not mark when you don't know the answer. If you're able to narrow down it to like 2 options, then also you should, I would say, go ahead and mark it off, because here if you are able to narrow it down to 2 options also, there's a good chance, half chance that you will get it right. So generally you should go off and mark then also. But in general, don't mark blindly, don't take like blind guesses. You should try to solve and then only answer. Okay, there is no sectional time limit, remember, so you can spend time as per your wish, but you should also remember that there will be sectional cutoffs that you have to clear. So you should do decent in each of the sections. Okay. Now let's go to each of these sections and let's try to understand what is the syllabus of each of the sections. So for both IPMAT Indore and IPMAT Rohtak, I've combined their syllabus because there's significant overlap in both of them. So I've given their combined syllabus, but more or less it applies for both exams. So let's take a look at what are the topics that are there in this IPMAT quantitative aptitude. So the 5 topics that you can consider in the IPMAT exam are number system, arithmetic, algebra, geometry and higher mathematics. Let's take a deep look at each part of it. So number systems, I feel, is a very fun part of mathematics. I feel it is the most enjoyable and I would say easy part of mathematics. Some parts of this number system are easy and some part are difficult. So I'll tell you which part is easy, which part is difficult. So if you consider properties of numbers, so basically what is even number, odd number, real number, rational number, all those things, they are easy. Then you have HCF, LCM, you have HCF, LCM of even fractions, divisibility, factors, prime factorization, finding the last digit, cyclicity of numbers. All of these are fun and good to do. Simplification of arithmetic, simplification of equations, BODMAS rule, all this part at the top line, right? I'll put this PPT even as a PDF, you can take a look at it. This entire part which is there in the top line, I would say is the easy part. Then what is the difficult part in number systems? You start with remainder theorems. These are difficult. They require a lot of remembering of theorems and how to apply them and when to apply them. So this is slightly tough. Surds and indices, factors, last two digits, factorials, all of these are slightly complicated concepts. They require some amount of learning and training and they are not easy. So this is the difficult part. The first part is the easy part. What I would always suggest is that a lot of people spend a lot of time mastering the difficult part and they forget about the easy part. Many students learn a lot about remainder theorems. Then they fail to do simple LCM, HCF questions. So you should master the easy part. You should know exactly how to quickly solve any question that comes from the easier parts of these topics. The harder parts, if you're very good at quant, you should definitely do it in detail. But if you're weaker in quant, I would say first prioritize the easy parts, master the easy parts so that those questions you will not leave. The harder parts you go through, but don't spend a lot of time on that, not at the cost of losing out on the easy part. Then you come to the arithmetic part. So arithmetic, you can broadly put it into 4 parts of arithmetic. The 4 parts of arithmetic is basic arithmetic. This includes percentages, ratio and proportion, averages, mixtures, allegations. This is, I would say, basic arithmetic. Here you are not necessarily dealing with a very complicated idea. You are just saying that, okay, in arithmetic, if I take ratio of 2 numbers, what would be the ratio? If I mix 2 numbers, what would be the end result? Basic arithmetic, easiest part of arithmetic. Then the second part is what I would call money. Money involves what? It involves profit and loss, compound interest, simple interest, partnerships, shares. All of that comes as part of the money aspect of arithmetic. I feel a lot of people find this also easy to do. Even I find it easy to do, and because it generally relates to a real world context, you can solve those questions also much more easily. Then you have what is called as time and work. So time and work involves how many days would I require to finish this work? How many hours would be required to fill this tank? All of these are time and work based questions and they are, I would say, on an increasing order of difficulty. Basic arithmetic is easiest, money is second easiest, time and work is third easiest. The hardest questions generally come from time, speed, distance, relative speed, linears, races, trains, circular tracks, boats, escalators. All of these kind of questions are the hardest questions that you can possibly get. Time, speed and distance is a difficult topic. So this part is difficult, but there are 3 easy parts as compared to 1 difficult part. What does that tell you about arithmetic? Arithmetic is generally an easy subject. It's generally a subject that you should master, that you should do well in, because it has most of it, arithmetic is easy. Compared to that, consider remainder theorems or parts of number systems. They are much harder. And another reason why you should master arithmetic is, it generally has very high weightage in the exam. So high weightage, easy topic, you should definitely focus on and master. There you will get a lot of marks. So arithmetic, particularly the easy parts of it, you should definitely master. Then let's get to algebra. Algebra generally tends to be on the harder side. For a lot of students who are not from a science background, it can be slightly tougher. But for most of the guys from science background, it should not be very difficult to do. So I'll tell you what is there in algebra. There is basic algebraic identities, that is square a plus b square, a square minus b square, that expansion. So all of these kind of things will be there in algebra. There's linear equations, quadratic equations, cubic equations. So fairly difficult, okay? Linear equations is the easiest, quadratic is moderate, cubic equations, factorizing them is the hardest. Then you have nature of roots and discriminant of quadratic equations. Then you have inequalities. Inequalities also on the harder side. These I feel are on the harder side, but they are also a bit practice driven and formula driven. You know the algebraic identities, you can solve it. If you don't remember the formula, it becomes impossible to solve. So here you need a lot of preparation. Apart from this, you have logarithms, functions and things based on functions. So your mod function, APGP, which is progressions in series, minima, maxima of functions, range and domain of functions, binomial theorem. So this is basically sometimes also called as modern maths. Functions, graphs, minima, maxima, AP progressions in series and logarithms. Then you have something which is called which is geometry. Geometry, you will start with the very basics, which is lines and angles. Okay, you have parallel lines and a transversal. Then you are asked, okay, what is corresponding angle? What is like interior angles, exterior angles? All of those basic ideas of angles are needed. Rather than asking questions directly on that, they generally form the basis of other questions. So questions will generally be asked on triangles and circles. This is like a very important part of geometry. Most often asked part of geometry is triangles and circles. But the base for that is in lines and angles. Then you have like questions which are there on theorems, geometry theorems, quadrilaterals and areas, polygons, internal and external angles of polygons, regular polygons. You also have coordinate geometry. Coordinate geometry is geometry which is based in a coordinate plane. It requires some extra effort because coordinate geometry generally is very time consuming to do, and a lot of people are very uncomfortable with it, including me. I generally prefer the normal geometry where the coordinate plane is not given. Then you have mensuration. Mensuration is basically for solids. You have surface area, you have volume, you have curved surface area, total surface area. All of those things are called as mensuration of solids. That part I feel is very formula driven. You have to mug up formulas for it and remember formulas for it, you will be able to solve questions. So I would say this is not difficult provided you learn and remember formulas. The hardest part of geometry I feel is triangles and circles. You can ask difficult questions on it. Same with quadrilaterals and polygons, there can be difficult questions, and coordinate geometry can have difficult questions. Basic lines and angles, polygons, internal and exterior angles of polygons, regular polygons, mensuration of solids generally tends to be on the easier side. Now let's come to higher maths. What is there in higher maths? So in higher maths you have matrices and determinant, set theory, matrices and determinants, set theory and Venn diagrams. So 3 set Venn diagrams, relations, functions, that is basically relations and functions between sets, sequences and series, APGP I had already mentioned, but you can consider it as part of higher maths also. So sequences and series, P&C, that is probability and combinatorics, inequalities I already mentioned it, but domain and range of functions, probability, binomial theorem, mod function. So in many ways some of this is repeated from earlier, but what is extra is that you have matrices and determinants, you have Venn diagram, 3 set Venn diagrams and set theory, you have relations and functions between sets, you have P&C and combinatorics, you have probability, you have binomial theorem, you have equations of lines and circles as part of geometry, trigonometry is there, and heights and distances is there. Trigonometry a lot of people might not have done. So this is the additional part, this is the difficult part. So there's set theory, trigonometry, matrices or determinants. So all of these are essentially higher maths which is generally taught to you at later stages in your maths journey. So these kind of difficult questions are also asked. Now let's go and see the syllabus for verbal ability. So in verbal ability, what are the topics? You can divide them into 4 parts. The first part is grammar, then reading comprehension, verbal ability and vocabulary. What is there in grammar? Parts of speech, basically what is noun, what is pronoun, what is adverb, what is verb, prepositions, conjunctions, direct and indirect speech, figures of speech, active, passive, articles. So you need to know parts of speech, you need to know figures of speech, you need to know how to convert from active voice to passive voice, You need to know like subject verb disagreement, sentence correction, spotting the error in grammar sentences. All those kind of questions come a lot. Now in reading comprehension, what is reading comprehension? Generally a passage of 2-3 paragraphs is given. You will be asked questions based on that paragraph. So you have to read a passage and answer questions based on it. So questions from that can be based on meaning of a word. So a word is highlighted in the passage. So in the context of the passage, what is the meaning of the word? You'll be asked what is the tone of the author? What is the tone of the passage? What is the main idea of the passage? Inference is based on the passage. You can be asked idioms or phrases that are there in the passage. So this is vocabulary plus reading comprehension in a way, and there will be other questions based on the passage. Verbal ability, this is basically in a way dependent on your grammar skill. Grammar plus vocab skill. So vocabulary and grammar is like you'll be asked what is the right thing to do, okay? What is the right grammar? Convert from active to passive. Here you will be basically asked to like spot errors. You'll be asked to find the errors. You'll be asked to fill in the blanks. So this is in a way applied form of grammar and vocabulary. Error spotting, fill in the blanks, sentence completion, para jumble, sentence improvement. These are in a way applied forms of grammar and of vocabulary. Vocabulary is simple. You have synonyms, antonyms, spelling errors. You have to find out 4 options will be given. You have to find out which one is correctly spelled. Or 4 options will be given and you have to find out which one is incorrectly spelled. One word substitution. So a phrase will be given and you have to identify if I was replacing this entire phrase with one word, what would be the word? So essentially you identify which of the options meaning is the phrase that is given. So this is in a way vocabulary. Understanding, knowing the meaning of the word, knowing the synonym of the word that is the same meaning, knowing the antonym which is the opposite meaning. Odd one out, incorrect word usage, phrasal verbs. So these are definitely parts of vocabulary that you need to remember. So odd one out is basically you will be given 4 words, 3 of which relate in one way and one is the odd one out. You have to select the odd one out. So this requires you to have some amount of understanding of the meanings of words. Incorrect word usage will basically be that one word is incorrectly used in one of the options given. You have to find out which option has the incorrect usage. So you might have over here phrasal verbs. So phrasal verbs are verbs where individually the phrase has a sense, but that sense is not from the individual word. So for example, consider the phrasal verb broke up. Okay, so broke up, you will say that it means that okay, broke plus up. So somebody who breaks something which is at the up. That's not what broke up means, right? The word or the phrasal verb has meaning in the whole phrase. It does not get its meaning from its constituent words. That's basically what a phrasal verb is. There you will be either asked the meaning of this phrasal verb or where is the word broke incorrectly used in the concept. So somewhere there will be like break in, break up, break down, break something else. And then you will find that of these options only this is the incorrect usage. So then you have to mark down that particular answer. Then you have para completion. So you have to identify what option would best be suited in the blank that is given at the end of the paragraph or in the middle of the paragraph. You have to identify which sentence fits in a paragraph. Then you have idioms and phrases. So if you see overall, what is the portion you have to do? You have to learn reading comprehension. Generally, I feel accuracy here is the best and it will also be the area where you can improve the fastest in. Grammar, where you have to remember a lot of rules, and vocabulary, where you have to improve your vocabulary by remembering the meanings of different words. If you have a wide vocabulary where you know the meanings of different words, it becomes very easy for you to solve these questions. Next, let's take a look at the logical reasoning part, which comes in IIM Rohtak's IPMAT exam. This is not there in the IIM Indore's exam. So what is asked in the IPMAT Rohtak exam in logical reasoning? So you will have simple logical reasoning sets based on say games and tournaments. So you will have like a competition, a knockout tournament or a multi-stage tournament. For example, a multi-stage tournament is something like say your IPL. IPL is a multi-stage tournament. Earlier everybody plays each other in a round robin format and then there is semi-final, finals, quarter-finals, semi-finals, finals. So this is like a multi-stage tournament, stage 1 which is round robin and stage 2 which is knockout. So these kind of tournaments like data will be given and then you have to infer, okay, therefore this person would have made these many goals, this person would have won against this. Based on the partial information that is given, you have to reason and infer out the remaining information and answer questions based on that. there will be 3 set Venn diagrams. So in 3 set Venn diagrams, you have to find out the minima and maxima values. You have to optimize for like linear optimization questions will be there. Then there is data interpretation. Data interpretation comes often. This also comes as part of IIM Indore. Okay, data interpretation, where there will be a table based set or a bar graph, pie charts, percentages, average based DI sets, ratio based DI sets, calculation based DI sets. The idea is that you will have a table, and on that table you have to do calculations. So the data interpretation sets come as both part of IPMAT Indore exam as well as part of the Rohtak exam. Now the next type which comes often is series and analogy, which is basically next number in the series. 4 numbers will be given, you have to figure out what is the 5th number, or like some word like pattern will be given, sequence will be given, you have to find the next alphabet sequence in that series. So these are basically logical thinking puzzles. They are not like quantitative puzzles, they are not maths puzzles, they are simple logical thinking puzzles as such. Analogy based questions, this is vocabulary based puzzles. You have questions on machine input problems, so input output problems. These are simple logical thinking, and they require basically you to follow a set of rules to get to the answer. Not quantitative at all, but sometimes time consuming. You have order and ranking puzzles, again logical reasoning. Letter and number coding, which is coding decoding. So in some code language, this word is coded as this. In some code language, this word is coded as this. So what would water be coded as, or something like that will be given, and you have to figure out, okay, what is this type of code? Is it a substitution cipher? Is it like letter to letter coding, or there is some other type of code that is given? Again, all of this is pure logical reasoning. There is no advantage of either vocabulary that much or quant that much. It requires, most of it is logical thinking as such. Anybody from any background can do well in these kind of questions. Then you have questions which are based on clocks and calendars. So basically like if the clocks are running fast or they are running slow, what time will they show? What would be the day on a particular date in the future? So if it is Thursday on 1st January 2025, what would be 1st January 2026? These kind of questions also come. So they are based off clocks and calendars. Then you have data sufficiency. This is quant and LR based. So data sufficiency is basically you will be given 2 statements and you will be asked to answer a question. The question can be a maths question. It can be a logical reasoning puzzle also. So you have to figure out not what the answer is, but if the answer can be found out. So if statement 1 is enough to answer the question, is statement 1 enough? Is statement 2 enough? Are both of them individually not enough, but together you can answer the question if you use statement 1 and 2, or both of them together also you cannot find the answer. So here the idea is that it tests your quant ability, it tests your logical reasoning ability, but the point is that you don't need to find the answer, you need to find whether the answer can be determined. That's all you have to figure out. Then you have arrangements, so linear arrangements, people sitting in a row, people standing in a line. All of these are linear arrangements. Circular arrangements are people sitting around a circular table. People, complicated, complex puzzles, which is like people in like different rows, facing each other, not facing each other. So all of these are arrangements. Arrangements, puzzles personally are my favorites. The idea is that you have to solve a lot of puzzles to do well in these kind of questions. These I would say are puzzles only. Like you solve, okay, who would be wearing these kind of, like one person is wearing a shirt of this color, pant of this color, is from Delhi or is from going to this college. You have to figure out all of these characteristics based on the clues given. So it is kind of like clue driven logical reasoning, which I find very interesting. But the thing is that to do that in the exam format, you have to solve many puzzles and then you will be able to do it well. Then you have blood relations. Blood relations basically will be like you are told that this person is the granddaughter of this person's brother, sister or something like that. So then you have to figure out what is their individual relationship. This can be directly blood relation or it can be coded blood relation. That is A plus B means A is the mother of B. B divided by C means B is the sister of C or something like that. So this you have to basically decode and write down the actual blood relation and then use blood relation topic ideas to figure out the relation between the different people that are there. Then you have directions and distances. Basically that, okay, somebody starts from this, looking at north direction, walks 100 steps, then takes a right, walks 500 steps. All of these are direction puzzles. All of these, in many ways, this is 90% logical reasoning. 10% I would say, like 8% quant, 2% in vocabulary or analogy based questions, it is vocabulary. But it is like heavy logical reasoning. If you are somebody who's targeting only IIM Rohtak and who looks at this and feels that, okay, there is a lot of quant in it, so don't worry, there isn't much quant in it. There is a lot of logical reasoning. So somebody who is weak in quant also can do well in this particular exam in this section. Now let's get to the preparation strategies. How do you prepare for IPMAT? For both Indore and Rohtak, the preparation strategy does not really change. You have to start early. As you can see, there's a lot of syllabus to cover. Each of these sections has a lot of syllabus to cover. So you have to start early, preferably from class 11. You need to give daily 2 to 3 hours of prep routine. I know that many of you might be preparing for it along with your 12th, so it would be difficult to give a lot of time. But if you are able to give 2 hours, that should be enough. If you are giving 2 hours consistently for like 1.5 years, it is more than enough. If you are able to give 2 hours every single day for a year also, it will be more than enough. If you are somebody who is starting a few months before the exam, I would say that give at least 3 hours. Then you have to practice a lot of mocks. One of the things that a lot of students do wrong is that they don't take mock tests. What is a mock test? Mock test basically means that it tries to replicate the exam. It tries to do the same things that the exam does, and it tries to do that for making you aware of what your strengths and weaknesses are, how you should prepare for the exam, what are the areas you need to focus on, what areas are already kind of good. So all of that you'll understand through the mock as such. So what I would definitely suggest is do try out Kraku's previous year's papers for IPMAT. We have put up all the previous year's papers of IPMAT Indore and IPMAT Rohtak in the test format. So you can take them as a mock and try to see how you would have done or performed in that particular exam. That is the best way you can assess what your preparation is like, what it lacks, what you need to do in the future. Then analyzing mistakes. A lot of people don't work on their mistakes. They continue to make the same mistake again and again, and whatever is their weak section remains the weak section even till the exam day. The idea should be that you identify which are your weak areas, you work on them, you practice a lot of questions, and make sure that they are not the weak areas when it comes to the actual exam. For this, what we are trying to do is we are going to release a study room soon, which is going to have all the questions that you need to prepare for IPMAT. So do check out Kraku's study room once it is launched. It will help you do targeted preparation for your weak areas so that you can understand your mistakes and improve on them. Solve previous year's papers. This is super important, as already said. Another thing that a lot of people don't do is read daily newspapers. See, part of the application process or the process of getting into IPMAT is firstly doing well in the exam. But after doing well in the exam, you'll be shortlisted. And after that shortlist, you have to go and give a actual in-person interview. And to crack that personal interview, you need to be having some amount of general awareness. You need to be able to speak properly. So you need to have general awareness. In addition to that, if you read daily, what will happen is that you will also have good reading comprehension skills, which is part of your verbal ability, and you will have a good vocabulary. So for all of those reasons, please read newspapers daily, read articles daily, read 2 articles every single day. Having a good reading habit will help you tremendously in doing well in this particular exam. The common mistakes to avoid in this particular exam, a lot of people basically end up ignoring one section. As I said, there are sectional cutoffs. You cannot ignore any section. If you do poorly in one section also, you will not get the final call. So always remember that you need to prepare for every single section, not revising weak areas. A lot of people are afraid of negative feedback. So whenever they feel that, okay, I'm weak in this area, they just prefer not to touch it again. And that's a very bad attitude to have. Remember that you have to do well in every section. So if you know that this is a weak area, you have to do more, not less in that particular area. A lot of students turn away from something that they are weak at. You have to turn into what you are weak at. You have to spend more time on what you are weak at. Remember, that should be your attitude. Twice the effort in the weak area, half the effort in the easier or like area of strength. If you do twice the effort in the weak area, it will take you no time to convert the weak area into your area of strength. Lastly, that another mistake a lot of students make is that they start too late. A lot of people try to do it in the last 3 months, but as you can see that the syllabus is massive. It will become very challenging to do in the last 3 months. So the exam is in May. If you start anywhere after January, you will have to work crazy number of hours every single day to do well in the exam. It is possible. Even starting in Jan, you can do it. Feb also you can do it. Don't leave it till March because it is too close to the exam. And if you start early, you will have a distinct advantage. You need to put in consistent effort over a extended period of time to do well in this exam. Again, the biggest mistake that I see a lot of students do is they don't solve the previous year's papers. There is no better representation of the exam than the previous year's papers. They are the best way to prepare for the exam. So this is all about the IPMAT exam. To do well in the IPMAT exam, I will tell you that please try to take the previous year's IPMAT papers. They are there on Krako's website. And also do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be putting more videos like this which will help you tremendously in cracking IPMAT. So thank you for tuning in.